In every heartache, there's a hidden seed of strength. Join Portia Booker on The Grief Grantor as we journey through stories of resilience, finding gratitude in the echoes of grief. Together, we transform sorrow into strength, pain into purpose. Welcome to The Grief Grantor, where your healing journey begins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Grief Grantor. I'm your host, Portia Booker. Thank you for joining us this evening. So first and foremost, I want to start off, you guys, always with a little story. You guys know I've got stories for days. So before I bring on our guest, I want to talk about something that I noticed during my grief journey. So when I was really struggling, one of the things that I noticed that I didn't have an appetite. And as all of you know, when we lose somebody, whether it's a person in our life, a pet, a job, a spouse, an opportunity, a friendship breakup, whatever it might be, it's almost as though we've had an earthquake eruption in our life. And so for me, during the seasons when my mom initially transitioned, I was filled with so much anger. Anger was a big one. Anger, frustration, sadness, hopelessness. And so because I was filled with all of those emotions with no place to go, guess where they housed? In my stomach. And so because of that, I was unable to eat. Now I gotta say, I'm gonna give a special shout out to my good friend Maureen Nelson Scanlon. Thank you so much for sending me the bouquet of Slim Jims, because those of you who know I love Slim Jims. And during that time, after my mom transitioned, I would snack on the Slim Jims, and that helped me to start really taking notice to what I was doing to my body. Now, one of the things that I started doing initially during my grief journey was writing in my journal. Those of you who see in my Instagram story, you follow me, you see that I write in my gratitude journal every single day. Most of the time it's at night now to help me go to sleep. But I noticed one time when I was writing, I had this epiphany in my head that say, hey, Portia, when was the last time we ate? What did we eat today? And that really posed the question for me of what am I doing to my body? Why am I punishing my body as a result of the loss that I've experienced? Think about that, you guys. Think about the things that you're doing, the things that we're doing as a result of loss, right? And so once I started to really unpack that, that's when I really took time to really start investing in my wellness. So those of you who follow me on Instagram, you guys know that I love to cook. You've seen my potato salad that I've made. Those of you who've had my signature chicken mushroom stew. Those of you who've seen pictures of my pizzas on Instagram. That has come from a space of love and really advocating and shifting the energy that I was pouring so much into those heavy emotions. I was able to dish them into food and recipes. So for those of you who are tuning in today, I want you to all take a moment to really ask yourself the tough question. What is my relationship with my body? And second, what is my relationship with the food that I'm eating? Let that sink in for a minute. What is the relationship I have with my body? And what is the relationship that I have with my food? Because those of us who have gone through grief, those of us who are working towards a New Year's resolution, whether that's getting in shape, competing for something, we have to recognize that our bodies are not the enemy. Our food is not the enemy. We just need to learn how to build that relationship in a healthy way. And so today we have a special guest who is going to walk us through that today. So we're going to take a quick break right here on the Grief Grantor, everybody. And when we come back from the break, we'll be joined by our special guest, Miss Kim Shapira. So we'll be right back here on the Grief Grantor.
Hi, everyone. I am Sinead from Brador. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Please join me in my Power Hour every Sunday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Mwah!
All right, everybody, welcome back right here on the Grief Grantor. We are joined by our special guest, Miss Kim Shapira. Hello, Kim. How you doing?
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. That was quite an intro story. It gave me so much insight. I can't wait to get into it all.
Kim, I'm truly honored and grateful that you are here. And I think this is a big topic that a lot of people struggle with on a daily basis, right? And so, Kim, I want to start off with something that you posted on Instagram this week. And I also saw it on your LinkedIn. You made a post that said, no matter how difficult it may be to remember, some days you and your body are on the same team. So I'm curious, Kim, what did it take for you to embark on your grief journey with grace in order to build a relationship with your body?
Well, I think I'm still on that journey, as we cannot predict the storms. But I will say it started for me very, very young. When I was 12, I got sick and I ended up in the hospital, in and out of the hospital, really for that a full year. And I just wanted to be healthy and I wasn't. So I think that is really what struck a chord with me on getting inside of my body and recognizing that my body and I are actually in a relationship, and that is the most important relationship I can have in my life.
And Kim, I know that a lot of people, right? You're talking about young. It appears to me that you are very self-aware young, right?
Yeah.
That there was a disconnection, right, between you and your body. And maybe walk us through that, Kim. You being this 12-year-old little girl, right? When we're 12, we're, you know, newly to hormonal things going on. So what was kind of that journey like for you to really say, hey, I'm tired of feeling icky. Is there a way for me to not have to visit the hospital like in the show Rugrats type of thing?
I mean, it was really a journey. So I will tell you that I was gifted this gentleman, Norman Cousins. So it was 1986, and my parents were friends with somebody who knew this man, and this man decided he was going to come in and visit me at the hospital. And again, I was 12 and I feel like he was 150. So he was very old, and I can't tell you how old he was. He was probably 70, but I was 12. And in my diary, I wrote Norman Scissors. I didn't even write his name correctly. And he actually cured himself of an incurable disease by laughing. And he taught me that 15 minutes of belly laughing would give me 2 hours of pain free time. And I kind of was intrigued. I was always interested in the energy around us and spiritual guides at a very young age. I always wanted to be telepathic. And I put like that visit away. And I will tell you that in my journey, there was a mentor friend of mine. He was a podiatrist, a foot doctor. He said to me, food can make people healthy or sick. And I decided, well, then that's going to be my career. I want to be healthy, and I think the whole world does. So I'm going to pick a career to make everybody healthy. And when I was in graduate school, I took a class on the psychosocial dynamics of disability, and I would have said I had one, but you couldn't see it. And Norman Cousin came back into my life at that point, and the idea of positive psychology and how I wasn't tapping into a part of my mind that I needed to in order to be well. And so he has been the greatest influence in my entire life, I think. And I'm grateful every day that I was gifted his presence and to be able to share what he has learned and how it's guided me.
So, Kim, I gotta throw a pun in here. I mean, the fact that his name is Norman Cousins, and then you wrote in your diary that his name was Norman Scissors. So I guess he kind of, no pun intended, cut a new way of thinking into your
Oh, I
brain.
love that. I love
So,
that.
so I gotta ask this, Kim. I'm somebody who loves to laugh, right? How many times do you think that you laugh per day now?
Not enough, but I will tell you, I was talking to a client last week who was going through some depressive moments. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be horrifying, but I'm just going to start laughing and we're going to see what happens. And, laughter is contagious.
Yes.
So, of course, I got her to laugh. It wasn't long enough, but I said, your homework is smile therapy and laugh therapy. And, it's really hard to be sad when we're smiling and when we're laughing.
I agree. I agree. My soul mother Dawn says laughter is the best medicine. You got that right. Kim, I probably laugh on average, I want to say maybe 4 times a week
Oh,
because I'm somebody who, on purpose, when I'm feeling just icky and like the world is weighing heavy on me, I'll go to YouTube and look at just some funny videos. Like one of my favorites, and I mean, I'll probably get some hate mail for this, but that's fine, is I think about the Mariah Carey special from New Year's. Was it 2000, what, like 18 or 19? I always get a kick out of it because of all the memes about people getting fired. And shout out to my two friends, Annette and Corey. We have a text message thread where one of us gets fired every week.
oh,
So
it's so funny. So funny. Yeah, it's important. And it's important to have people around you that bring you, to laughter.
oh yeah. I mean, my soul mother says, Portia, you always bring laughter to my life. Thank you. Thank you, Dawn. I mean, I just have to, in the world that we live in today, right, Kim? And I'm sure
Mhm.
that you've got plenty of laughs with your clients when it comes to such a serious topic, right?
I
Like,
try.
one of my favorite jokes is, what did the grape say when it wasn't picked from a vine?
Oh, I feel bad for that grave. What did it say?
I Concord, like Concord.
That's so funny. It's true.
So that's the thing, right? You can find humor in everything,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. And I think we should. I think we should make sure everybody's laughing a little every day.
I agree. I agree.
Good
Kim,
reminder.
I've gotten the best laugh just from you just now with this Norman Cousins who's cut a new way of thinking into our life. So,
I
Kim,
love it.
I want to switch gears here a little bit. So, in your experience, right? One of the things that you talk about is determining your why, right? So, how can understanding the why behind someone's desire to, in a sense, lose weight, to transform their journey, how can someone who's grieving begin to uncover this motivation a little deeper?
Yeah. I think that wherever anybody is at any age, they need to take a deep breath and understand that their body is the only thing that matters. And it's not that we can't have other things that are important, but we have to be well and healthy to be productive and to be living. And so to be really focused on self care as not like a non negotiable would be the very first place to start, and to honor whatever your body is feeling without judgment.
Kim, I agree. I think there's so much, I want to say, too much information
Too much. There's so
that
much confusion.
clouds what self-care really is. And
Yeah.
I think in your space, there's a lot of misconception,
Yeah.
right? And so, Kim, what would you say is your self-care routine, the non-negotiables for Kim?
Yeah. Well, it does start with understanding that every person develops 3 to 5 emotional triggers in their life. And when
Mm.
they go through something traumatizing, they develop a new one. And then we really work on mastering them, hopefully, in our lifetime. And so mine is kind of interwoven with my why. And it is feeling well. I have a health trigger. I don't want to be sick. And so I'm always looking at food, or I'm always looking at whatever I'm going to put into my body as, what is this? How is this going to affect me? How will I feel after? And it's really very easy when you think about self care, which I'm going to say it's super selfish and it's the most important thing. And when we say no, we are really saying yes to ourselves. And it's so important to say no, because I'm more important than whatever that is that I'm going to forget about in a few minutes. That's
I
what I
agree. No is a complete sentence. And I think, Kim, little digression. The other day, I had to say no to something that normally my heartstrings would say yes, because I'm so used to being the caregiver of everybody. I want to make sure that everybody else's fires are putting out while my house is burning down. And I literally had to take time to say, you know what? Not this time. I'm putting
Yeah.
Portia first. And when I did that, Kim, there was this level of just so much comfort and like
Mm.
pride that was like, yes, Portia, this is what self-care is. This is what self-care looks like. No is a complete sentence. You're allowed to disconnect and the rest of the world will understand, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you put yourself in flow, and
Mm,
things really, when we do that, we align, we start feeling better, and then we actually start developing confidence.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. I agree with that
Yeah.
100%. Well, we're going to take another quick break right here on the Grief Grantor, everybody. We're going to continue our conversation with Kim after the break.
Hey friends, this is Ben Hummel. I'm the host of the Genius Way Show, where you'll learn to access your inner gifts, talents, and callings and how to express them out in the world. Join me here each Sunday at noon Pacific time on the Achieve TV network, right here on E360 TV.
All right, everybody, welcome back right here on the Grief Grantor. We are joined by Miss Kim Shapira. We're just having an amazing conversation about incorporating self-care into our everyday, making it a non-negotiable, and also about her journey of finding gratitude in her grief journey to build a relationship with her body. So, Kim, before we dive into the next part of the conversation, if one of our audience members wants to connect with you and learn more about your work, is there a social media handle or website they can connect with you?
Yes, I am Kim Shapira Method everywhere.
Straight.
Whatever social media platform you're looking at, Kim Shapira Method.
Excellent, excellent. So Kim, I want to dive in. Look, we've got to talk about your book. So for anyone who's tuning in, this is Kim's book. This is what you're really hungry for. So I had the opportunity to read it and it was definitely worth it. So Kim, I want to talk about a couple things in your book. Let's dive into rule number 2, which focuses on eating what you love. So first, I'm curious, Kim, what is your favorite food to eat, whether it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What's your favorite?
I mean, I would say Cheerios. But then I would also say a bean burrito. So I think it really depends on the moment, but I also love broccoli. So no favorites.
For me, I can eat pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I
That's
do
my
love
favorite.
pizza.
But the thing with pizza, because it has cheese and cheese creates mucus, I have to kind of like distance myself a little bit or do it in moderation because I host my show and I don't want my vocals to change. There's a running joke. Shout out to my good friend Jenny Young as She Did Videography. We have a fun joke that if you eat too much cheese, it'll make you sound like Barry White. That's an inside joke, so she'll know what that is. But
That's funny.
for our audience, right, there tends to be so much misconception, right, when it comes to really building a relationship with your body, creating a healthy routine. So could you maybe share some ways that individuals who are grieving, right, can let go of that shame and guilt that's associated with eating what they love?
Yeah, I think I have to give a little bit of a backstory just to go before we even start talking about rule number 2. So when our mind, let's actually even go further. Like, we're not responsible for telling our heart to beat, our stomach to do its thing, our lungs to breathe. Our mind's job is to produce thoughts, and it does 60,000 thoughts a day in response to something you see, smell, feel, hear, or touch. If your mind is detecting stress or grief, what happens is there are 1,400 different sensations that occur in under 10 seconds. It takes all of your neurotransmitters, your digestive enzymes, everything away from your stomach and goes to your extremities for fight or flight. So you can run from the lion that has just come into the room. And sometimes the lion just hangs out for a while. And so we stay in this heightened experience. When this happens, it's tipping off our hippocampus, which is our emotional center, our pituitary glands, and our adrenal center. So then it's causing a problem with our cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone, our sex hormones, and also our blood sugar. So we're now developing a slew of issues that if we stay in this heightened period, we end up with long-term problems and inflammation. So really learning how to ground yourself, become mindful, and understand that mindful is meaning to know where your mind is without judgment and accept, here I am, and I'm in a season that sucks. I'm in a season that sucks, but my body is the most important thing than anything else. And so I need to do self-care, which is make sure that I, brush my teeth, I drink water, I sleep, all the things that are important, and I eat. So first things first, if you are somebody who is in this heightened, extreme period in their body, start the practice of smelling your food. Just by smelling your food, what happens is you're alerting your body it's time to eat, and it brings those digestive enzymes, neurotransmitters back to your stomach. So even if you and I start talking about pickles right now or lemons, we get a release of saliva because now just by that thought, our body is starting to get ready to break it down. And if we don't have that saliva, we're missing out on these essential vitamin enzymes, and we're going to end up with digestive problems or inflammation or mucus. So we really need to remember that we live inside our bodies and we need to take care of it. And it starts with smelling your food and starts with deep breaths, right? And then I have to start with rule 1 before I can even talk about rule 2, which is to eat when you're hungry and to make sure that you start with half of your normal portion and you wait 15 minutes to see if you need more. So this is all science, right? We need food when we're hungry. If we're anxious or feeling something else, we're not going to be hungry. But just by smelling our food, this might help us get grounded and then feel hunger. And then we're ready to break it down. And the reason why I say wait 15 minutes is because that's how long it takes for your mind and stomach to connect that it was enough food. We might need more in 15, but we need to start there. So rule number 2, which you talked about, was to eat what you love, make sure that you're eating food that loves you back. So I'm a registered dietitian with a degree in clinical nutrition and human metabolism. My whole goal is to help every single person feel well in their body, no matter what season they're in, no matter what they've gone through. What I found very early in my career, like client number 1, was a therapist, and I put her on a diet because that's what I was trained to do. And she lost 30 pounds. And I was so, so, so proud of myself because all I wanted to do was make people healthy. And this was going to reduce her risk of metabolic regulation and all sorts of diseases. And then she said to me, Kim, I'm going to gain the weight back. And I said, why would you do that? And she said, because my husband wants to be intimate with me all the time. And I was molested as a child. And I thought, okay, I don't know anything about the people living inside of their bodies. And so as I started doing a deeper dive, I started moving further away from diets, which meant telling people to eat this many lean proteins and this much starch and this many milks. But instead, going to more of an empowering approach was eat what you love. And what had happened is I find that people restrict all over the place, or their friend is having, a lot of success on intermittent fasting. And so they're going to try it. Oh my gosh. I mean, first of all, you and I should highlight this word deserve. Like it really is one of those words that like people use. I deserve to eat this cake. I deserve to have food. No, it's a non-negotiable necessity. We all need food. It's not a deserving situation. So there's so many emotional pieces. And if you remember, I told you that most people every person develops emotional triggers between the ages of 3 and 5. So here's our rational mind, right? Here, our amygdala and our frontal lobe is just here. We're totally rational. Here we think food is fuel. When we become triggered by anything, and we can't predict the trigger, sometimes we can, but we get triggered and boom, we flip our lid. Now we're irrational. And now we think food is entertainment, food is comfort, food is joy, food is the enemy. And our job is to get from here to here as fast as we can. And it's again, knowing where your mind is without judgment, but bringing it back to this moment. And then saying to yourself, why am I thinking about food? Is it because I just had a really bad moment or because I'm hungry in my stomach, right? We can be stressed and hungry, but we don't eat because we're stressed, because food isn't comfort. But there's been so much restriction that people are now afraid it won't be there when they want it. That's a lie. It's everywhere always. I could have Thanksgiving dinner in March. It's everywhere. So the rule is eat what you love, really, so you can retrain your mind that nothing is healthy or unhealthy. Nothing is a should or shouldn't. Nothing is a can or can't. But it's, why am I eating this? And then how will it make me feel? Knowing that we're in control of taking care of our body. And the goal is to reduce inflammation, but not to feel restricted.
And I agree with that, Kim. I mean, I think because we're so bombarded with all the shoulds, well, you should be this weight, you should be this height, or have this diet based on your body type, right? And I love how you brought up the story of your first client, Kim, because a lot of us don't think about that.
Yeah.
Right? The person on the inside, right? We want to kind of put you through what I like to call the hamster wheel, or the conveyor belt method, or the McDonald's line analogy, right? And after a while, that stuff doesn't work for most people.
Right. I mean, everybody's got different confounding factors, right? They're on different medications. They have different ailments. They've been on different antibiotics. Their stress levels are different. We're not all the same. I mean, blueberries give me diarrhea, and it's not that they're not delicious, but you know what? They're not healthy for me, but they're on every healthy list. And so really being aware of, like, I don't need to follow the norm. I need to pay attention and honor what's going on in my body right now and show up with grace.
Oh, that word keeps coming up so much. I mean, and I'm excited because I'll be doing a presentation around that, around giving ourselves grace, because I feel like that's a hidden component that a lot of people don't talk about when you're grieving, is learning how to give yourself grace. Kind of like what you hinted on about self-care.
Yeah.
No is a complete sentence, right?
Yeah.
And Kim, you know, I'm somebody who loves vegetables, but certain ones just, my stomach's like, nope, we're not on the same team. Like sometimes I feel like when I eat broccoli, I feel like I'm gonna like start to like swell up and start flying in the air. Like
Really?
You know, that little Geico commercial that with the
Yes.
little piggy that's like, wee.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do that after I eat broccoli. I feel like I like swell up because of the gas.
Mm.
And it's just not, I'm like, nope, I'm avoiding it like the bubonic plague, and that's okay, right? I can eat alternatives, kind of like what you said. Blueberries are listed on this healthy food chain, but for me, it's like, I can cut my losses with broccoli. It's all good.
Yeah.
There's alternatives, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But also to kind of question, like, I'm not allergic to broccoli. I mean, not allergic to blueberries. And so the fact that they do make me sick means that I have to work on healing my gut. And it could be because, you know, I had pneumonia a couple of years ago and I had to take 2 courses of antibiotics. It could be for so many different reasons, the stress of the pandemic. So what is it about my gut that I need to now heal? And this, when I eat what I love and I start recognizing blueberries make me sick, this is an opportunity for me to say, I need to fix something in my body. And how can I go about doing that? And the truth is there's like 4 things you need to do to heal your gut. And I'm going to tell you what they are. They are to add a variety of fruits and vegetables. And the recommendations are 30 a week, so about 4 a day. And they should be ones you love. The second thing is to make sure you're having a diet high in fiber, which for a woman is 25 grams. For a man, it's about 30 to 35. To have a really good probiotic and to eat fermented foods and to add omega-3s. Those 4 things will heal your gut. So maybe broccoli and maybe blueberries will not cause any problem.
You know, Kim, I'm somebody who I learned about probiotics a few years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I'm like, probiotics? And I always get the one that is high in lactobacillus rhamnosus, because I
Okay.
know that one's good for like gut health, leaky gut, and that whole
Yeah.
thing. So thanks for confirming that, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we think that certain molds and tailors work for everybody. But again,
Right.
they don't.
No,
Right.
they don't. No. And I
see,
think people don't pay attention to their microbiome system, right? So we have 6 to 10 pounds in each of our bodies, and it's regulating, controlling so many things. And so a probiotic is actually just like a little tourist coming in and visiting and leaving very important messages and then going off. But like, you know, we destroy that system so easily. And so it's important to keep it up.
I love the analogy of the little Taurus. That's funny.
Yeah. It's
I'm gonna have to
true.
give mine a name now. I'm gonna make mine like the Minions. Like I love the
That's
Minions.
how I see it, actually. That's so funny. Like, I mean, yeah.
We're too much in sync, Kim. Look, Kim, I want to kind of one of the things that I really want to touch on too is this thing around blood sugar, right? And I know, so little story really quick. A lot of people don't know this, but when I was a kid, I was diabetic. I had
Mm.
type 2 diabetes as a kid. And thank my mom, God rest her soul, my mom intervened at the right time for me, where the only thing I took was at the time was metformin. And I had to obviously check my blood sugar and that, but I grew out of it. I grew
Wow.
out of it because my mom intervened at the right time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Kim, if you can shed light on, can you maybe explain the role of low blood sugar in overeating and weight gain? And maybe offer some words or tips, especially for people who during their grief journey might struggle with emotional eating.
Mm. So, to be honest, blood sugar is our fuel source. It's what's in our bloodstream. We have about a teaspoon in our bloodstream at any given time, 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it's a constant stream. And it's like really headed to any organ and cell that needs a little bit of sugar. And that sugar is our fuel. We cannot exist without it. And like diabetes or type 2 diabetes is basically saying that the key, which is insulin, is no longer fitting the lock, which is the cell. And so you can't get the sugar into the cell. So it builds up in your bloodstream. And so if you're talking about a tip to make sure that you're lowering that, you want to take short walks before and after you eat. Even going up and down the stairs in your house, you just want to improve and be more active to get that sugar, the key matching the cell. That would be number one. But it's very important that our bodies are fueled every 3 to 4 hours every single day. And again, when our body detects stress, it goes into, overdrive and this fight or flight. So under eating causes stress. Overeating causes stress. And it's really important to regulate. And we can do that by making sure that we are eating every 3 to 4 hours. I don't know if I answered the question. There's just so much to talk
Well,
about.
I think realistically, Kim, I love what you said that overeating and undereating causes stress. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know for me, I really try not to overeat because then I feel miserable. I feel
Yeah.
like, not to be gross, but I feel like I just swallowed a bunch of cement and I'm
Yeah.
ready to just like go, bam,
Yeah.
like, and then if I undereat, oh, it's the pure hangry show. I'm snippy at everybody. No, I'm ready for more food. Or if I'm like doing multiple edits or hosting multiple shows in a week and I have to wait to eat, then I'm a little,
Yeah.
angry.com, but that's okay.
Totally. I mean, if our mind is producing thoughts to make sure that we're surviving every moment in the most pleasurable way and we're under eating, now our basic survival is threatened.
Mm.
And so it's I always kind of compare it to having to use the restroom. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pee 6 times today. Where are those toilets going to be? I'm freaking out. I need to know where the toilets are." No. We wake up, we drink water, we find a toilet when we need one. Sometimes it gets a bit uncomfortable, but we all survive it and we can't remember that we even peed 6 times yesterday or last week. And the reality is we eat 21 meals a week on average. And we eat 3 to 5 times a day. We have 21 meals and we think 220 thoughts on food every day. And yet we're becoming overwhelmed with food and we're having 60,000 thoughts and only 221 of those are about food.
Wow.
It's really kind of crazy. So if we're not eating enough, our body is going to start sending us all kinds of messages to survive. And we're not going to be able to control the rate because we're starving and it's basic survival. And normal. Totally normal. We're all the
Yeah.
same. Normal.
And I love how you shed light on that, Kim, because you're right. We don't realize how much we're bombarded throughout the day.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's through emails, or, how social media geocaches all of your thoughts. Like, oh, I want to have pizza tonight. Probably more than likely if I go on Facebook after we're done with this, oh, here's a whole pizza thread. It's like, excuse me, how did you know that I wanted pizza? But you're right. Like, we get so flooded with
Yeah.
so much that
Yeah.
we really have to be mindful, right?
Yeah.
And intentional with our time. I love to
Yeah.
call it budgeting our time,
I like that.
because
Yeah.
just like how we budget our money for if we want to go on a trip, if we want to, treat ourselves to a
Yeah.
nice dinner, whatever that might be, we got to learn to budget our time and our
Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
right?
I agree 100%. I like that. I call it time management.
Yeah.
As far as you got to manage your time for exercise. You got to manage your time for maybe prepping food so you have it available when you're hungry. So there isn't going to be the low blood sugar dips, but it's not always possible. Sometimes we're hungry.
Oh, I agree. And
Yeah.
that's why now, Kim, I have learned to always in every bag, I keep some type of snack just
Why
in
not?
case.
Why not?
I noticed, as I'm in a sense expanding my mind, I noticed that I'm getting more, I'm requiring more fuel.
Yeah.
And I was telling my friend this, I'm like, hey, my appetite's increased like this. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, Portia, you're expanding your mindset. You're doing all these
Yeah.
different courses, learning all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's a real thing.
It is a real thing. Yeah. It's the thermogenetics of food, right? And how many calories we're burning in and out. And it increases with more activity. That's how we increase our metabolism. Yeah. But to be mindful is to recognize that, one practice I can give you to being mindful is to say, here, we can do this together. So repeat after me.
Mhm.
Where is my body?
Where is my body?
It's right here. So then it's right here. And then you say, where is my mind?
Where is my mind?
Okay, now I just saw you look up, so I know you went to go look for it. So where is your mind?
Right here.
Perfect, because we're both in this moment. But, we could have been scattered or anxious, and our mind could have been on what we're having for dinner. And sometimes our mind is a liar. And so if it says pizza is a good idea, every time you have a thought about food, you have to kind of say, where is my mind? Because why am I thinking about pizza at 4:00 in the afternoon, or why am I thinking about pizza in general? And being able to bring your mind back to this moment to say, oh, because I'm hungry is the right answer. But it's because you're like, I just saw an ad on Facebook. That's not the right answer. The right answer is to be able to know that my mind is here and I just scanned my body and I'm hungry, and there I can have pizza. If I'm not hungry now, then you just store that thought and say, thanks for, the good idea, mind, and I'll have pizza when I'm hungry. But to coexist with loving pizza, but also knowing that you don't need to have it right now, just like the snack you have in your bag. It's there and you trust that it will be. And that makes you feel safe. And our mind needs to know we're safe at all times.
And that's so true, Kim. I thank you for shedding light on that, because I don't think we recognize, right, really asking ourselves those tough questions.
Yeah.
Right? Where is my mind right now?
Yeah.
Where is my body?
Yeah.
Where's my thoughts?
Right. And if your mind is over there on a conversation you had last week or on what you're going to have for dinner next week, and it's not here, then your job is to bring it here, to accept that it's over there, bring it back, and then scan your body and see why it even jumped away anyway. And it could have been fear of what you're going to have or not have. It could have been you're bored, you're tired, you're procrastinating. It doesn't matter why, but you can't move forward without accepting the moment you're in.
I always say it moment by moment, by moment. And that's literally how I go about my life now. I feel like grief has really taught me to be more present, if anything. And I think learning to build a relationship with food in general, and your body teaches you how to be more mindful and present.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So we're going to take another quick break right here, everybody, on the Grief Grantor. When we come back, we're going to finish our conversation with Kim Shapira. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to illuminate your path and embrace your true purpose? Welcome to the Secrets of Being retreat in the breathtaking landscapes of Costa Rica. Experience a life-changing journey, surrounded by the vibrant energy of nature. Make connections with like-minded visionaries and change-makers like yourself. Discover the power of love and light as we dive into transformative workshops, guiding you to unlock your highest potential and radiate positivity. Connect with the wisdom of the earth, immersing yourself in the beauty of Costa Rica. Let nature inspire your journey of self-discovery. Awaken the visionary within, and let your light guide you to create a positive impact on the world. Join us at the Secrets of Being retreat and shine bright. Reserve your spot now and take the first step towards a purposeful, inspiring life. Embrace the secrets. Embrace your light. Embrace your being.
All right, everybody, welcome back right here on the Grief Grantor. We are joined by Miss Kim Shapira, and we're just having an amazing dialogue about the importance of being mindful, really asking ourselves those tough questions of where is my mind at right now? Where is my body? Do I feel safe? And really learning to unpack that, not be afraid to really dive a little deeper. So, Kim, I want to continue more about your book, right? I want to talk about also rule number 3. Rule number 3, eating without distractions. I'm curious for you, why is giving our food, our undivided attention important? And I'm curious as to what techniques can someone use to stay present during their meals to transform their eating experience?
Okay, those are loaded questions. So, how long does it take for somebody to eat, you think? In like when they're just home and eating?
I'm going to say 20 minutes.
Really?
Maybe that's me. I'm going to say 20 minutes because I like to actually enjoy my food and not
I love
rush.
that. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I would say the average person takes between like 3 and 5 minutes.
And they
Yeah.
don't choke.
Maybe, but they're not even chewing their food very well. So even like when you think about it, depending on what you're eating, we need to chew our food between 15 and 40 bites per chew. And so it sounds like you're doing a really good job of that. Like steak would be closer to the 40, 45 bites per chew. A banana might be like 3 bites, but we need to chew our food so it gets flattened, since it's the first way that we're mechanically breaking it down so we can get the nutrition inside the food. Because as much as food is delicious, we're eating it for the nutrients inside to fuel our body, right? And so what happens is people eat when they're distracted emotionally, like we just talked about. They eat because they're having a craving, which is not hunger at all. And they eat because the food is in front of them. And my goal is for people to get to eat just because they're hungry in their stomach, only as much as they need right now, trusting they can have more when they're hungry in 3 hours, right? And so there are some practices, like depending on if somebody isn't sitting. Okay, so let me tell you what my dream of everybody would be to be sitting at a table with their food, finding gratitude for the food, and good conversation around the food would be helpful, but not while they're watching TV or sitting on the couch or in bed or reading a book or on their computer, because it's really hard to tell if you are enjoying the food or if you just want to extend the time that you're not doing your work or something else. And so we really need to, again, honor what our body is feeling. And it only needs so much because it's going to eat again in 3 hours. It's going to get food again. And so something that I would suggest is whatever you're having on your fork, take off half of it, put whatever is left in your mouth, put your fork down, sit back, chew your food, and then maybe have a sip of water and start again. So by slowing down the rate at which you eat, you end up eating less. Most people don't eat when they're not hungry, but we can eat everything on our plate in 5 or 6 minutes, but we won't know for 15 minutes if we are satisfied. So we will eat too much.
Kim, I love that because I think so many of us, again, are in a sense distant. We're not present when we eat. See, I literally, sometimes I leave my phones in the dining room and I eat in the kitchen. I'm present with my food. Even when I'm like super hungry after doing like shows and stuff, I'm fully present with my food because I want to enjoy the taste. I want to actually enjoy this meal because at one point I didn't get to enjoy this the way that I did. So why not, no pun intended, savor the flavor?
Yeah, as you should savor the flavor. Yeah. And people call themselves foodies all the time. And I think the reality is every human is a foodie. We all need it and we all love it, but we don't always need all of it.
Yeah. Moderation is key. I mean, I know with me, like, as I mentioned in the beginning, I cook a lot now. A lot of people see me cook a lot. Tina says, good point. I cook a lot at my house. I make probably 90% of my meals from home because a lot of times when I go out now, I feel like even the chain restaurants are a little sketch town 2.0, put it honestly. And I feel like the food that I make tastes richer and it lasts longer.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has fewer ingredients in it.
I know everything that's in it. I'm like, oh, I've
Yeah.
added this seasoning. I've added
Yeah.
this level. Like one of my friends who was recently had surgery, I made her my signature chicken stew. And I told her everything that was in it because one of the things that it said, she had some restrictions. So I'm like, okay, here's everything that's in this chicken stew. It's chicken breast, potatoes, because I can't do noodles because of the gluten. It just, my skin doesn't like it. So it's chicken, potatoes, carrots, mushrooms, chicken broth, onions, garlic, and like 8 different seasonings. And it cooks for about 2.5 hours.
Sounds delicious.
Okay, I'll have to send you some, Kim. No problem. I will send you some or I'll
Yes,
come and make
please.
it for you. I love it. I've made it for the last 2 weeks because it's been just the pure ugly show with the snow here in Ohio. And I'm like, nope, nope, nope. So I just made soup and I ate it to the last drop. Tina says, I want some. Sure.
Yeah.
Tina, no problem. I will make you
We all
some
want it.
time. I mean, but you're right. Like I enjoy making the food. And that's the beauty when you're the chef and
Yeah.
when you're the chef, you get to be the first taster too.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
whenever
Yeah,
I'm making, go ahead.
we tend to eat 30% more food if it's in front of us. And so by you not even eating in a restaurant, you are cutting down almost 30% because they not only do we eat 30% when it's in front of us, restaurants prepare 30% more than we would if we were home.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, even when sometimes I'll make steak. I haven't eaten steak in years, but when I made a steak, I'll make my signature steak, sweet potatoes, either most of the time it's collard greens I'll make or cabbage, and I'll make cornbread.
Yum.
Man. Tina says, if you don't eat your own cooking, I don't want none. I agree.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I agree with that, Tina. Good point. So,
That's
Kim,
funny, actually.
that is fun because I know people that don't. I make sure that
Why?
I know people that don't, and I don't know if they're afraid that it tastes bad. So in my eyes, if you're afraid that it tastes bad, why would you serve it to somebody
Oh my goodness.
else? I know for me, when I make that soup, I always make sure that the base is right.
Yeah.
Because the base has to cook. So the chicken broth, the onions, the garlic, and the 9 seasonings, they have to blend together for a good 30 minutes before I put all the vegetables and the chicken in there.
Have you always loved to cook or is this a new thing?
No, this is like a new thing. So little story time. So when I was in college, I didn't know how to cook. My roommate, shout out to Rebecca Dennison. I think she got married, so I can't think of her married name right now, but she is the one that taught me how to cook because her father owned a restaurant
That's cool.
back in Pittsburgh. So she's the one that like taught me how to like cut chicken up right. And then when I moved out on my own, when I took my first big girl job in TV, I was cooking for myself at home. That was like my intro. I'd make little burritos. I'd make my food look cute. I've always been an omelet girl. I've always loved omelets. So I've literally perfected my omelets now, Kim, where I can fold them and make a whole sandwich out of my omelet.
Oh, wow.
No bread. Only
Wait, I
my
definitely
omelet.
need to see a photo of this.
Okay.
Or a
I'll make
video.
sure you get it. So literally I'll cook it. I don't even use either almond milk or soy milk to make my omelets anymore. I'll just use like 2 eggs, put my seasonings in it, and just fry it.
Yeah, sounds good.
And, you know, I'll put whatever I want in it, like bell peppers, or if I want to do a Western omelet, bell peppers, onions, maybe some bacon, crunch it up, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I've literally perfected it. And it's so really my grief journey.
Easy.
It's not. I agree. It is not, because you gotta really watch the fire with an omelet, because it'll burn up real quick. You gotta keep the fire on low and, you know, watch it and scoop around it. And yeah. Oh, Kim, I'm telling you, I literally have learned to love to cook, I want to say within the last couple years, because that was something me and my mom did before my mom transitioned. So this year I made last year for Thanksgiving, I have the recipes from my great grandmother. And I made the potato salad, the signature potato salad that my family knows. I made it for the first time, and I cried. I cried the entire time I was making it, because I knew my mom would be proud. And that was the last time I made it, was with her.
Yeah, that's so special.
Yeah. So a lot of the recipes that I have are my great grandmother's. So
yeah, I mean, like just listening to you, like, you know, there is so much emotion that goes into our food and our history and our parents' history and, you know, our grandparents, even, and all these traditions that are passed down that, I mean, we can even talk about how they even give us limitations around it, and to be able to see that, and then, you know, to kind of cut those cords would be beautiful as well, to not have those limitations. Good for you.
I agree. Tina says, so you've been hiding your chef skills all this time. Fruit really does a number on the soul. I've been hiding a lot. We'll get to that, Tina. I'll share more about my chef skills later. Kim, we'll be wrapping up here soon. And I want to again extend my gratitude to you for coming on. And for our audience, again, who's tuning in, Kim just wrote this book. This is what you're really hungry for. So you can get a copy of it. Follow her on all social media at the Shapira. Was it Kim Shapira Method? Is your social
It is.
media?
Yes.
So Kim, I want to ask this question for our audience, right? Many of us have struggled with all these different diets, restrictions, calories, right? How can someone begin to break free from these triggers through forgiveness?
Honestly, I think it is through gratitude. And sometimes I will take the most difficult situation with a client who has struggled more than anyone else in the room, let's say, and ask them just to find gratitude with different parts of their body. And I know it sounds so silly, but it's actually really hard for people to do because they're disconnected. And once you start recognizing that you are your body, you are in this relationship with your body, and then why would you stay in a toxic relationship, right? And so really working on finding love and gratitude and ignoring the noise. There is a ton of nutrition confusion, but coming back to what does my body need and how much does my body need? You don't need to count calories. You don't need to count protein grams. Your body will tell you how much it needs and when it needs it. Just like it can tell us that we have to pee, right? Sometimes it's really bad and sometimes we can wait 15 minutes to use the restroom. Just start listening and really gain that trust with yourself.
I couldn't have said it better, Kim. I always say you can find gratitude in any and everything.
Yes.
Any and everything. Tina says, awesome. And yes, it was very challenging to be grateful for every area of my body, not just its looks. Agreed.
Agreed.
I remember, Kim, at one point in my journey, I felt like I needed like plastic surgery to make myself look the part. But, as I'm like growing more wiser, not older, wiser, I appreciate who I am. Like the more that I'm maturing in my journey, a lot of people are telling me I look just like my mom. And when I look at pictures of her, I'm like, oh my goodness, I do look like my mom. So it's like, I appreciate who I am today, where I've been, and also my grief journey, because it has truly taught me how to love and appreciate everything that I have.
I love that so much. I love it. And I think the more you become grateful and in a relationship with yourself, the more mindful you become. So you start really recognizing that your mind is a little bit of a liar and trying to hijack moments. I was in a moment yesterday where I had to go on stage to moderate a panel, and it had just poured, all over me, and it ruined my hair. And I was thinking, my mind was saying to me, your hair looks terrible. This is terrible. And then I said to my mind, nobody has expectations of what my hair is supposed to look like. Shut up. And then I was fine. Like we really have to talk to ourselves a little, be in a relationship with ourselves.
Yeah, learn to quiet what I call my inner critic's name is Rump Rose. So we'll have to talk about Rump Rose another day. But everybody, this concludes another conversation here on the Grief Grantor. And this was Kim Shapira that you heard from. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And until next week, peace and hair grease, everyone.
The Grief Grantor. May the story shared today light your path and guide your heart toward healing. Remember, with every moment of grief, there's an opportunity for gratitude, resilience, and empowerment. Continue your journey with us online and share your own story, because in this tapestry of life, every thread matters, especially yours.